Hello everybody and welcome back to TTTV. This is TTL F1 Season 12 round number 13, which takes us to the Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Kieran McGinley and joining me in the studio for this round is Andy Campbell. Andy, how are you tonight?
Very well, Kieran. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. It's good to be back on TTL F1. We're both missing last week due to other circumstances, shall we say. Yours was much more pleasurable than mine, that's for sure. But we've got a great one to come back to here. I know you done Hungary on Tuesday night, but to come back for myself here and it being Spa, there's no better place. As you said in the tweet, this is my idea of a Spa break. Forget all of that stuff about sitting around lounging at the pool. Get me in a car and send me up through Eau Rouge, probably sideways into a barrier, but still much better than sitting by the pool. So looking forward to this. Should be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for Steph for filling in last week whilst me and Andy were gone. I know you did a fantastic job, as always, Mr. Steph, as you so often do. But Andy and I are going to steal that microphone back because, as you said, Andy, it's our spa day. This is the one day of the year we get to relax and sit back, or do we? Oh,
no
dear.
relaxing here, no chance.
No chance, no. Yeah, so we're just waiting for the last drivers to enter the lobby now. And, well, the Belgian Grand Prix then, Andy, used to be a colossal track here in Spa. And the only bit that remains is Blanchimont and the La Source hairpin of the original circuit. But still, it's a behemoth, 7.004 kilometres long, with the first Grand Prix being back in 1950. 22 laps around the Spa circuit will be covering around about 154 kilometres in the game. The lap record 146.286, which was set by Valtteri Bottas in 2018. So, I've been to Spa, Andy, and it is amazing. Like, seriously, you don't actually understand how steep Raidillon actually is until you're there in person.
Definitely, I've seen a number of people say that the TV camera angles, as always, don't do justice to just how steep it has never been. It's part of my bucket list, which I'll probably still be trying to do by the time I'm 65, but hey. But it's the longest track in the calendar as well, so it will always take you a good time to walk around it. But as you mentioned, the original track, which was all on public roads back in the day, was over 14 kilometres long. Absolutely mammoth track. And people go on about Eau Rouge and up to Raidillon and then Blanchimont, but if you ask the drivers back in the day, the likes of Sir Jackie Stewart, 3 times world champion, of course, back in the day, he'll tell you, forget those corners, the Master Kink was the one to watch out for. Flat out, left, right. You've got one house on the left hand side, you've got another house on the right hand side, you've got telegraph poles and a couple of straw bales. That's where you really tested the mettle of who had the cojones, shall we say. I was about to say something else there, probably not PG. But it's still an absolutely phenomenal track. Eau Rouge, Raidillon, you go up through the Kemmel straight to Les Combes, you come down the hill through the double left-hander at Pouhon, which is a phenomenal corner as well, and then obviously back up towards the start and finish line through Blanchimont, a wee bit easier than it used to be back in about 20 years ago, obviously due to safety measures, but still absolutely flat out. You still need to be absolutely committed to it. It's a phenomenal track. There's no surprise why it's a fan and driver favourite. And we had a phenomenal race when we done the Esports Mini League European Series a couple of weeks ago, and I've commentated in other races here, and it's always been fun. The weather can always play its havoc as well. In the Ardennes Forest, it's always got its own microclimate as well, so it's a complete unknown every time you step out on the track here. You never know what you're going to get, and it always makes for fun racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some of the corner names over the years: the La Source hairpin, Eau Rouge and Raidillon, going down the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes. Turn 9, actually, Andy. That really sort of right-hander that seems like it's going on forever. What do you reckon that's called?
So I've seen a couple of names for that, and I was actually looking at it today, and I can't remember what they were. One of them looked like a combination between Brussels and Brexit, and the less we say about the latter, the better. But I can't remember what the other name was, but it is a tricky corner, downhill braking, very easy to lock the inside wheel up, and it just goes on, as you say, and then obviously you've got to pull into the right-hand side for the next corner, which is a left-hander corner with no name, I don't think, before you head to Pouhon, but I'm sure you're going to tell me what the corner name is, and it's going to probably be one of the first times that I don't know a corner name.
Well, turn 9 is Brussels. You're absolutely right. Just spelled the French way, and you're absolutely right. Turn 11 is hasn't got a name. It's just no name. So that's what I'm going to call it.
Perfect.
It's a
Right,
corner that
that's
seems like it needs a name. You know, it's like you say, it's downhill, left-hander. You've got a lot of curb on the right-hand side that you're free to use. It feels like a corner that should have a name, but no. And then you say
yeah.
you've got the legendary poo on there. Lots of drivers can clip that curb on the left-hand side there and send the car spinning up the rear tyres and around. They could be sending themselves wide. I know that because I've done it before. Back when I was racing, I took poo on the wrong way and sent myself wide and lost a couple of positions. So it is annoying when that happens. And then, as you were saying, Blanchimont, which is pretty much flat out these days, you used to have to lift, and Eau Rouge and Radion you used to have to lift as well. But it's all flat out now if you've got the right setup. And then, of course, modified all those years ago, the old bus stop chicane, which is just called the chicane now. But you know,
I still call it the bus stop. I don't care.
I still call it the old bus stop. It is to me.
I still remember with the old bus stop. Remember Montoya going around the outside of Schumacher? I think it was 2002. And he just went round the long way round on Michael. It was just a phenomenal move. But you're talking about Pujon, you're going backwards. I remember in a GT3 race that I did on lap 1, I ended up about 20 foot in the air at one point doing a triple barrel roll at one point. Just caught out completely, spinning sideways and someone right into the side of me at 150. So it's not the easiest. I think we're having some issues with the lobby here today because everyone seems to be disappearing out of it at the moment, so I'm guessing we're going to get a fresh one. I did see a couple of them in the TSN chat because they're unable to join, so yeah, looks like we're having a bit of issues so far.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andy. Just a change of lobby, and then we'll hopefully let all the drivers join. It gives us a good chance, though, Andy, to go through some of the championship standings. And I say this now because when I have to accept the party invite, it's only going to be me for a short while. But yeah, Blizzard 224 points at the top of the table. Squeezy on 153. It is a massive gap at the top there. And if my maths fails me, which I think it will do, that's 69 points? Or 71? It's either way.
We'll go with 71 because 69 is not PG again.
It's a number. How can it... Forget it. Yeah, so Squeezy on 153. Then you've got Poe in third on 121. Lambo pulling himself up to fourth place on 114. The Gort in fifth on 79. Ollie in 6th on 68, Siege in 7th on 61, Spike in 8th on 56, Litinho in 9th on 35, Steph rounding up the top 10 on 34 points. Not far behind is Maze on 32 points in 11th, Alan K in 12th on 28 points, Sean in 13th on 26 points, Josh and Francis tied for 14th place, both reserve drivers, both have 25 points. Scars and Ollie P tied for 16th place, both on 15 points. Dave M in 18th on 12 points. Plaster in 19th on 9 points. And Frank is in 20th on 8 points. Looking at the constructors then, well, Force India have a 64-point lead at the top of the table. How do I know? Well, Force India are at the top on 264. Haas are in second on 200. Much easier to work out. McLaren in third, though, on 188. Toro Rosso in 4th on 130. Williams are in 5th on 95, with Sauber in 6th on 84. Red Bull are in 7th on 79. Renault are in 8th on 57. Ferrari in 9th on 49. And Mercedes are at the bottom there on 35 points. Now, if you watched the Hungarian Grand Prix last time out, you would have seen that Blizzard picked up his 6th win of the season. He's now won more than half the season's races. So it's looking a dominant display from Blizzard, as we keep saying. He is one of the most decorated drivers, in fact the most decorated driver in TTL history. So for him to be galloping away at the head of the pack, it's no surprise there, but we still have, you know, just under half the season to go. Anything can happen, and in the words of my one of my commentary idols, it usually does.
Definitely so. It's so much that can still happen. I mean, Blizzard does have that commanding lead. It's nearly 3 full race victories he's ahead. It shows how when he gets out in front, he's able to just be really consistent here in TTL F1. We know he's a quick driver, but it could all change. A couple of bad races, or if he has to miss a couple of races due to real life or internet issues or anything like that, someone takes advantage of that and it's game on one more time. So it's definitely not over yet. Hopefully this lobby is going to be a wee bit more stable for everybody now because we seem to be moved across. I don't know if you noticed though from Spike in the chat, I know the answer to this. He put, which two teammates both crashed at Radion after they made a bet with each other? See if you can remember this because I know exactly who it is.
That is a fantastic question, and I don't think that's one I have an answer to. If I had to guess, it's the Jordan teammates, but I can't remember.
No, I think it was 1999, if I remember correctly. 99 or 2000, it was the BAR team. It was Jack Villeneuve and Ricardo Zonta. Remember the two big massive shunts where they rolled at the top of the hill when they still had gravel traps?
Oh, right.
They both done it on the Saturday during practice. They've just basically made a bet with each other. One went out and done it, and then the other one went out and done the exact same. And Craig Pollock, the team manager at the time, he wasn't too happy.
No, no way.
But saying that is probably. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened behind closed doors with that one? That's a hefty bill, and obviously BAR now, as we know it, is Mercedes, so it came good in the end. But yeah, Zonta and Villeneuve, I'm sure it was 99 was the year, their first year in the sport, having taken over from the Tyrrell team, when they had that half and half livery. They had the Lucky Strike and 555, the blue and the red, because they couldn't run two separate liveries due to the rules. Yeah, tough, and it still had gravel traps up there, two huge shunts, try to go flat out, and the car just spun coming up the hill. So I like to know I've still got my trivia going. Thanks for that one, Spike.
Yeah, the tables look like they turned there on you. Spike asking you trivia for once.
I'm quite happy to answer them, that's not a problem at all.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Well, here we are then at the Belgian Grand Prix, and round number 13 out of 21. We're looking to, fingers crossed then, what's the weather going to be like? Are they going to treat us to dry weather? Is it going to be raining in the Ardennes Forest? It's overcast. And I tell you what, those skies don't look too encouraging for this qualifying session.
Well, I wouldn't know yet because it's still loading me in.
It's loaded me in perfectly fine. Yeah, it looks a bit...
I'm getting there now, but yeah.
It does look a bit miserable. Yeah, it does look a bit miserable out there, gotta say. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the weather goes about then. Maze in the chat there saying that it's going to be overcast, so I'm assuming that is for qualifying and the race. But what we had, there is Steph there, you can see just at the bottom of your screen, ready to leave the pits, as we see the familiar sight of a McLaren leaving the pit lane there, Andy. I wonder who that could be.
That's got to be Squeezy, hasn't it? It always is.
In true tradition then, Squeezy is the first person out on track. Not far behind him is the Haas of Poe. Second and third in the championship, those two, looking to try and close the gap on this man in the Force India, Blizzard, who is running away with the championship at the moment. But with these super soft tyres, Andy, I'm surprised that the drivers are going out on these super soft tyres. Because, of course, I believe they are the softest compound. And around Belgium, 7 kilometres, that's a bold move.
Yeah, it is the softest compound. It's super soft, soft and medium here. Your ideal strategy is either to go the yellow marked soft tyres onto the mediums or the mediums onto the softs. If you're running super softs, unless you have got brilliant tyre management and you go soft to medium and run the mediums for like 16, 17 laps, then fair play. But if you're running super softs early, you're probably pushing yourself towards a two-stopper. Obviously, maybe someone thinking they can maybe get away from the field and then manage the tyres to eke the strategy out, eke the time out before the pit stop, maybe thinking a safety car might come up if there's a big enough crash early doors. We have seen it before in the past. So super softs is an interesting choice. We're going to jump on board with Squeezy. I've got to do my traditional flying lap as I usually do. You know what I'm like for doing these, I love them. But I'm expecting when we get to the finish line, Squeezy will probably slam the brakes on like usual, just so he can put in a bit of a banker without going full throttle to right to the end of the lap. So here we go, across the start and finish line. DRS open, one of two DRS zones here at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. Heading down to La Source, around about the 100 metre board. down to first gear briefly, then up to second gear to minimise wheel spin, and then down the hill heading towards Eau Rouge, which is the right-hander at the bottom of the hill. It means Red River, which runs underneath the track, and then up the hill and over the top of the hill is Radion. I'm not going to mention anything to do with that. And then along the Kemmel Straight, where the second DRS zone is, it's just a long drag all the way up to Licombs, upwards of 212 miles an hour there, down to fourth gear. Catch the curb on the inside, Squeezy getting good traction there to just throw it in, and then into fifth through Malmedy, I always get that wrong, and then down into Brussels, that very tricky corner, easy to lock up, your downhill, gravity's against you there, and then into corner with no name, and if you get this wrong on the inside, the barrier is right there, so you got to be very careful not to do that. And here we go into Poohorn, watch this, 160 miles an hour, chuck it down to sixth gear and then back on the throttle wheel quickly, phenomenal corner. And then up to the fan chicane, which I can never say proper. Easy to get this one wrong, but you can make a lot of time up here if you get it right. And then into Stavelot at the bottom end of the track. And then now we're heading back up. It's full throttle all the way through here, all the way up to that bus stop chicane. But of course we have got the legendary Blanchiment to go through first of all. Here it is coming up. It's going to be absolutely flat out, foot to the floor, 200 plus miles an hour. And then looking for your braking zone into the chicane, round about 100 metre board, down to second gear, briefly down to first, back onto the throttle, out of the chicane, and then over the line we go. And what lap is it? It's a 1 minute 41.9, and that is actually a decent lap time. So that could be Squeezy maybe pushing himself to go for the Super Softs, which would be an interesting strategy.
And Blizzard there's going a 141.5, whilst Poe with a 142.1 there. We've got Francis making his way towards the old bus stop chicane as Alan Kay crosses the line, remember on the medium tyres, with a 145.6. Here comes Francis then towards that start-finish line. You've got Steph putting a time up as well as Francis, 142.8 from Francis, meanwhile 146.0 from Steph. And I have seen some time trial times dip into the 140s, maybe even the 139s. So we could really be seeing some of those some of that pace today. But the track isn't at its optimum. The sun's not shining on it. The track won't be giving its optimum grip. So maybe we, 141, low 141, low 40 as high 40, I should say, is my expected pole lap time today. As Sean makes his way down towards Brussels for his flying lap. He's on the medium tyres, and as you say, Andy, as you were talking about just in the stream beforehand, getting Brussels absolutely right. The gravity's against you. It's so easy to lock up there, and that damages the tyres. And the one thing you can't do at the Belgian Grand Prix is abuse your tyres.
Definitely not. And although it's it's not one of those corners that we know as well as like Eau Rouge, Radio, and Blanchiment, etc. But it is still just as important as any other corner on the track, and it's, as I say, it's a tricky one with that downhill braking zone. It's very easy to get it wrong and obviously lock up, and as you say, that can then just ruin the tyre wear. But even away from that, if someone's right behind you, it's very easy for them to just go up the inside if you run wide, and then you've lost a position as well. I've seen people in other league races going through there and losing, someone walking up down there, and 2 cars getting passed before they go through the next corner, the no-name corner. So if you get it wrong, it's very easy to lose a lot of time through there. And it's one of those corners that you don't think about it as much, but it is just as important, and it's very easy to get it wrong. And it's the same with the Fanges chicane, which I can never pronounce properly. It's very easy to get a lot of time through. You can make a lot of time through there if you get it right, but it's very easy to get it wrong. Those curbs on the inside, you can use them to kind of make a tram line to drag you through the corner, but if you get stuck in them too much, you end up just causing a crash. So it's very tricky, and it's even the corners you don't think of are the ones that can catch you out.
Here comes Spike then coming through Blanchiment. As he chucks the car in, you can see their full throttle all the way through as we head now towards the old bus stop chicane. As you can see there, the ERS battery is all gone for Spike as he dives into the pit lane. I don't know whether he just lost the back end there. He's actually tapped the wall on his way in there. As we see, this is Plaster on a flying lap. This is Plaster coming through the set of turns. Now, interesting about Stavlo here, which is the corner pass that's just gone through. You see those tyre walls on the left-hand side. Very, very easy to overcommit into Stavlo. The exit of that corner is so much more important than the entry. If you screw up the entry, you're just going to go straight into those tyre barriers. How do I know that? Well, I've done it many times. Many times.
Yeah.
They say I'm an expert. Yeah, they say I'm an expert, but really I just know the follies as that Plaster makes his way across the line, coming down into Lasor's hairpin. He didn't post a lap time there, so I wonder if that was just his outlap. Or was it his outlap? Ah, there you go. I'm creating false drama. I do that a lot, it seems, Andy. But Blizzard currently on provisional pole, 141.5, with Squeezy in second. Poe third, Lambo fourth, Francis in fifth, The Gort in sixth, Sean seventh, Alan K eighth, Steph in ninth. Yet to set a lap time, Maze, Ollie, Plaster and Spike.
Yeah, interesting strategy. You know, quite surprising to see so many of them out on the super softs, out of the 13 drivers here. We were expecting a few more, but obviously those lobby issues means that a couple of them haven't been able to make it. One of them I can remember off was VSR Marquez, was due to be joining into the league from tonight as well. We've seen him during the eSport mini league racing for Visceral as well. So some issues there, meaning we've not quite got as many as we had hoped for, but we've still got 13 very quick drivers out there. Squeezy, Poe, Lambo, Blizzard up at the top end of the standings. We know Francis can be quick as well. The Gort's good on his day as well. So we're still going to be in for an interesting battle, and you know, I'm sure we'll find plenty to talk about. Plaster's coming through the Stavlo area. You can see that tyre wall you were just talking about. That's where the old track meets as well. If you were on the old track, it kind of meets back in around there as well. So that's where the old meets the new, up through Blanchimont. Absolutely flat out as expected. Not using all of the track to the outside, taking it a wee bit more cautious through there in that sense, not running it right to the edge. And he comes through the bus stop chicane. He's got one of the Renaults ahead of him, but it's not going to impose on them. He crosses over the line, and it's 10th place on the medium tyres, 5 seconds down, so I don't think he was really pushing as quick as he maybe could have done there.
Squeezy then, coming out of No Name towards Puon. As you can see, drops a gear all the way to 6th there and revs the engine so much. Runs a little bit wide actually onto that AstroTurf, and that might cost him a little bit of time. In fact, it might cost him the lap entirely, because there you go, he's put the ERS mode all the way down to 0. I think that lap got invalidated. We've got Poe then, who's just exited Stavlo, making his way towards 16 and then through Blanchimont, as we see right on board with him, gripping the wheel as tight as he can as he heads towards 18 and 19. The old bus stop chicane braking at the 100 metre board. Obviously been listening to Andy's flying lap as he makes his way around the final corner towards the DRS zone and towards the start finish line, steering wheel as straight as possible. He's shaved off 2 tenths, but it's not enough to get him up a position. Stays P3 for now.
Yeah, so not able to get further than he could, but it's an improvement on the lap time. 7.5 minutes to go. We're going to see the drivers starting to come back in for another set of tyres. Steph has came back into the pits as well, as he's done 3 laps on those medium tyres, currently in 7th place. So it could put him in a good place. I'm expecting to see him maybe go out in the soft tyres for his next run. I expect him to maybe try and do the more optimum strategy rather than the super softs to start with. Those further down, I would expect to be doing that. Anyone in the sort of top 4 or 5, although it's not ideal, I'm expecting to see them on super softs considering how much they've done on their initial runs. But those outside, they say they'll sort of like top 6 or 7. I could easily see trying to do the more optimum race strategy. The softs are probably the best tyre around here, as Lambo jumps up into 2nd place with his latest lap time. Softs are a better tyre around here. The mediums do take a few laps to warm up normally, and especially with these overcast conditions, it's going to make it even trickier as well. So although it'll last you long, getting the temperature up is going to cost a bit of time if you're not able to do it quickly enough. So your optimum tyre is the soft tyre, and that could be maybe what some of them think. They might decide, you know what, I'm quick enough to do a 2-stop, super soft, soft, but they'll be needing a bit of luck there and a lot of pace to be able to do something like that. But it's still going to be an interesting race for sure, and the strategy is definitely going to play itself out here before this night is done.
So 2 drivers have set their best lap time on the soft tyre during Andy's speech about how he expects people to be on the soft tyre. That's Spike, who puts himself up into P5 with a 142.2, and Alan Kay, who is there in 8th place on a 144.1. We've got drivers out on a lap. We've got Squeezy, who's willing to try again. Actually shaved off 2/10 there, but it's still not enough to try and jump Blizzard there for the top of the standings as he makes his way back to the pits. Then we've got the Gort, who is not on a flying lap, currently finds himself P6 at the minute. And who else have we got? We haven't got Maze out on track just yet. As always, we expect to see him quite late on into the session, but it's a long lap time here, one of the longest of the season, so we should be expecting Maze by the time the clock reaches 3 minutes, at least, for him to be out on track. We've got Ollie, meanwhile, on an out lap. He's going onto the soft tyres. Now, he did have a little bit of server connection issues, so actually Maze is retired from the session, so there you go. Not taking any... Yeah, he is listening to me. So he's not actually going to take part of the session at all, as Ollie makes his way through Blanchimont, warming up those tyres as much as he can as he heads towards the old bus stop chicane, pumping up that ERS battery all the way into hot lap mode, taking that last corner as wide as possible to focus on the exit as he makes his way down the start finish straight towards Lasaw's hairpin. And what's this like? A little bit of a missed apex there from Ollie, but the lap must go on, as actually he's turned the battery all the way down to 0 again. I think he knew from turn 1 that it wasn't going to be his best, so he's backed out of it. Looks like he's going to go for another one.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the soft tyres, so as much as it's not ideal, it's still possible to do, you know, keep the battery charged up, come round again and go one more time, but he's leaving it pretty late if he wants to try and get himself into the top 10. But then again, being outside the top 10 is not necessarily the worst place to be either, so you never know what could happen. Still Blizzard at the top of the standings, Sweezy in second, Lambo in third. Most people, the top 8 in fact, are all in pit lane. The only cars on track at the moment are Steph, Sean and Ollie. Steph's done 2 laps. In fact, no, sorry, he's on the soft tyres. I was looking at the best. He's on the soft tyres at the moment, as is Sean and Ollie. They're just on their first sort of laps at the moment, and Steph's about to line up for another go. His best time so far is on the medium tyres, as is Sean, so keep an eye on if they can improve. They're both inside the top 10 at the moment, so it's a good place to be. But those guys in the pits at the moment with 3 minutes to go, as Poe just heads out onto the track, going to see them coming out very shortly if they're going to have one more run, because I say it is the longest track in the calendar. The only one that comes close to it is Baku.
Oh, Steph Slow! Sorry to cut across you there, Andy. A little bit of a moment there for Steph. Let him get his breath back there. Lost the back end coming up Radion, but managed to gather it all up again. That's the lap time gone, but at least he's still in this qualifying session. Scary moment for Steph there.
Yeah, it's not what you want to be doing going up there. Change your underwear for the Mercedes driver, please, because that one would have been a humongous shunt if that had happened. But he's managed to keep it on the track, so he can still go one more time. The yellow flags are for him. He's out the way of other drivers, and we've got everybody out except for Lambo, who's just heading out at the moment, actually. So we're about to have every car on track except for Plaster. So everyone's heading out with 2 minutes to go, and even though it's the longest track in the calendar, it could get quite tight down towards Sector 3 at the end of Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane, trying to jockey for position across the line in this final minute and a bit. Anyone round at the start end of the lap, like say Lambo has just come over Radion there, and anyone around there, they're going to be the last ones over the line, but they're going to need to get a move on to make sure that they can cross the line in time. Because if they come across traffic ahead and they try to slow up, then they're going to end up with problems. So it's going to be an interesting end to the session. Just noticed as well, Spike, who's in 5th place at the moment, he's set his best time on the softs. He's now gone out and set in medium tyres. So he's obviously thinking of trying something a little bit different if he feels he can get a bit more time out of those than he can the medium. So some interesting strategies already coming into play here, and we're not even out of qualifying.
We've got around 60 seconds of qualifying until the checker flag is shown, and of course if you make it to the line before the checkered flag falls, you get to complete your lap, as is the rules. Here comes Spike then to start his flying lap, as you said, Andy, on a set of medium tyres. Watch out for Squeezy as well as he climbs the hill through Radion. So much grip in that car, it just sticks to the ground as you make your way up the hill. 10 years ago you were lifting through there, now no such thing, as we make our way down towards Lake Holm into 6, then through 7, and then through turn 8 as we make our way down towards Brussels now. And that awkward braking zone, Squeezy onto the gravel there. He's still going to keep going though as he heads through Brussels. Long right hander that seems to go on forever, rewards patience though as he makes his way through No Name now and towards Puon, using a lot of that green stuff on the right hand side, not the grass, the other green stuff. Chucks the car into Puon there, runs a little bit wide, but it looks like no, he's gone straight on. He invalidated the lap, so Squeezy's not going to take any further part in this qualifying. He can't improve as Lambo there just beats the checkered flag. As Blizzard now making his way through Brussels. You can see there, very easy to lock up that front right tyre there. Poe is making his way through Blanchimont now as he makes his way through to the old bus stop chicane. What can he do? Can he get himself onto the front row? Can he get himself pole position? It's only 4/10 he needs to find, but as you get to the levels here, 4/10 is a lot harder to find. Here comes Poe towards the line. He can't improve. He's 3/10 off. He will stay in P4 as Spike now makes his way towards the line. Francis is making his way through Puon. What about Alan Kay? He's just come out of No Name. You've got Ollie on a flying lap making his way towards Blanchimont. So we've got Spike here making his way around the old bus stop chicane. Here he comes towards the line on a set of medium tyres. Can he improve? No, he can't. A second off. So I was all rooting for Spike there to see if he could get a better lap time, but he couldn't. Wanted to change up his strategy, but he will be starting on the soft tyres for tomorrow. Here comes Blizzard towards the line. Can he improve on his pole position lap time? No, he can't. It was invalidated, so no improvement for Blizzard. Here comes Lambo coming through Blanchimont, as he'll be one of the last drivers to finish up his lap time. You see Francis there has stopped on track. As Lambo then makes his way around the final corner. He comes. Can he grab a late pole position? No, he can't. A 10th off then. So
and
Francis...
Alan Gaze came into the pits. So with Francis sat in the middle of the track, that's it.
Yeah, and actually he's going to get disqualified. Yeah, so he gets disqualified, so he'll start at the back of the grid then. So with qualifying over, Blizzard is on pole position. And it seems like we say that a lot this season, Andy. 22 laps separates him and his 7th win of the season.
Yeah, it's like with any track, it's where you want to be, obviously, is on pole position, but sometimes, especially around here, where that's such a long run from La Source up through Eau Rouge and up to Lacombe, sometimes being in first is not the best place to be, because you can end up getting slipstreamed by everyone else. But it does take pole position at 1 minute 41.5, so it was a mid 41 that done the lap time. Squeezy in second, 1/10 shy. Lambo in third, 3/10 down. Poe just under at 4/10 down in fourth. Spike in fifth. He's the famous 666 behind, and then the screen's disappeared already, so I've missed the rest of it. But we'll go to it in a minute.
Well, absolutely. Spike there being just shy of 7/10 of a second off the super soft runners. That's impressive. I have to say, that's impressive pace on those soft tyres. Let's see if he can translate that into looking after the tyres, because Spike has gone on the record saying it is tough to keep those tyres under temperature. He's been struggling with it recently. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to keep those tyre temperatures under control. Always more difficult to do when you are on a controller than when you're on a wheel. But all of that means nothing when we head to the starting grid. 22 laps around a driver favourite. I'm looking forward to this one, Andy.
Definitely so. And there's another bit I was just thinking about there, actually, to watch out for. Obviously, we're going to see at least one pit stop from everybody. That pit lane entry, I've seen crashes there. I've seen safety cars caused by that. It's not the easiest pit lane to come through, especially when you're trying to go at racing speed to keep, lose as little time as possible. So keep an eye out for that. That could be interesting as well, as we're now on to the formation lap. So the top 4 are on the super soft. Spike on the softs along with Ollie. Gort on super soft. Steph, Alan Kay and Sean on softs, as they all qualified on. So outside of that, it is Plaster and Maze on the mediums, and Francis, who got disqualified. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he's maybe had an issue with his wheel or something, but he parked in the middle of the track for whatever reason, and that disqualified him from the session. So he's at the back and he's starting on the soft tyres. It's going to be an interesting race for sure. Spike's in a really nice position. If he can stay out of trouble on these early laps and stick with these guys that are on the super softs, he could really put himself in a position, because the optimum strategy, as I said earlier on in the stream, is either soft to medium or medium to soft. Super softs aren't exactly the best sort of tyre. They wear out very quickly on this long track, and he's got himself in a good position. Same with Ollie as well, just behind him in 6th. So they're the guys to watch out for. These guys at the front on the super softs, like the Blizzard, Squeezy, Lambo and Poe, they need to try and check out of here very, very quickly if they want to make that strategy work, because if they go super soft to medium, they're going to have to try and run them for about 14, 15, 16 laps. And especially with some of these high-speed corners putting a lot of load through the tyres, there's always a chance of punctures at the end. So this race is not going to be over until the very, very end, even with only 13 cars in the grid here this evening.
Yeah, sort of looking around lap 9, I would say, maybe even lap 8 for the soft tyre window to open. For super softs, it's even earlier, maybe even lap 3, lap 4, if you can make the tyres last. So what's interesting though is, because Francis was disqualified from the qualifying session, does he start on his used soft tyres? Because he was running in 7th at the time he was disqualified in qualifying. So I'm assuming he gets to start on his old tyres that he qualified on. So what does that make Sean, who was 11th at the end of qualifying? Does he start on a new set of tyres? It's all these rules and regulations you only realise now when it actually happens. So it'll be interesting to see how long Sean can last on those soft tyres. He might be able to get a lap or 2 more if he's starting on some fresh ones. But we definitely know for sure that Plaster and Maze are starting on fresh medium tyres. So they are going to be looking for the long run. Keep an eye on them in the latter half of this race. As we head to the Belgian Grand Prix then, TTL F1 is brought to you by weakwifi-solutions.com. It's also brought to you by A Logo, who will win the Weak Wi-Fi Solutions driver of the day, and who will come away with the A Logo fastest lap, who will come away with the win at the Belgian Grand Prix. We're moments away from the lights coming on to signal the start of this race. Here they come then for the Belgian Grand Prix. 5 red lights. Round 13 is underway, and what are the starts like? Looks like Blizzard's got a good start then, but Squeezy's right on his tail as we head down towards the source hairpin for the first time then. Here comes that Sauber up the inside. That's Spike there as we see Ollie go wide at the first corner then. Having to take evasive action, it looks like. Spike's up a position as we head towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. The tyres are cold, the brakes are cold, the aero might not be working as well. Oh, that's a Renault off! Francis off, Squeezy's off as well. It's carnage! Oh, it's absolutely carnage here! We've got so many cars off, and I wouldn't be surprised here if we see, yes, we do, a safety car has been deployed straight away, and half the field, Andy, has been wiped out in the first couple of corners.
Unbelievable. I was watching Francis. He tried to go side by side through Eau Rouge with Sean, I think it was, and the car just swapped sideways on him going up the hill, and over the crest of the hill swiped to the other side over Radion and out. I didn't catch what happened to those guys ahead, but we've lost the pole sitter, we've lost second, we've lost the Gort, we've lost pole, we've lost half the field, we've lost the top 2 in the championship. What happened? I didn't catch that part.
I saw a Renault of Francis there as I was just sort of looking at a general camera, lose the back end and went straight to the wall. But I don't know if Francis caused the pile-up, because the pile-up happened later on. So
the pile-up was in front of him, he was behind because he started last, remember?
Yeah.
So he just had his own accident going up Eau Rouge side by side with Sean, and the car swapped ends. Everything else took out Blizzard, Squeezy, Steph, the Gort and Poe. That was all done ahead of Francis, because he was at the back when he started. So that all happened ahead. No idea what caused that, because I was keeping an eye on what was going on behind the front runners while you were usually keeping an eye there, and that's when I seen that happen. And then obviously absolute carnage, and one of the biggest wrecks since the 1998 race here in the rain, with 13 cars all piled up at the start, remember, out of La Source. But it's happened again. But this is a great chance for the likes of Lambo here to gain some ground, the likes of Spike to gain ground as well, like to see anyone else like Sean, Mason, etc., to try and get themselves up onto the podium as well, to make some fantastic gains in the championship. But it's such a shame to see half the field depleted already.
Ollie's in then, under the safety car, taking a free pit stop. He's now going on to a set of medium tyres. So he's now going to, well, effectively will become a 2-stop, but he'll actually get onto those medium tyres. So it takes away that time that he would have lost. But as you say, Lambo there has a perfect opportunity now to try and take a race win. The gap between himself and Blizzard is 110 points. He could shorten that gap down and try and pull himself back into this championship hunt. I said, Andy, at the start of this stream, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does, as we see the safety car picking up Lambo then. Spike is in second, Sean up into third place. I can guarantee you he wasn't thinking about defending a podium position at the start of this race. We've got Maze in fourth, Alan K fifth, Plaster sixth, and Ollie in seventh. Crazy, crazy scenes, Andy, and I wonder how long this safety car will stay out for.
We'll certainly see before long. It now means that Lambo's the only one left on super softs, of course. So everyone else is on the optimum strategy. So he's got to. Safety car is good for him in one sense because it means he's not wearing his tyres out, but it's not great in another sense because it means everyone else is still right behind him. So it's not the greatest. I've just been keeping an eye as well on the PSN chat that we have for the league, and Blizzard was saying netcode, and Squeezy was saying it was to do with the game and that. So it seems like they've been running nearby to each other, and it's just caused mayhem. Basically, one of the most expensive car park pile-ups you'll ever see. I wouldn't mind if it was restarted, to be honest, but it's something you don't see these days. You know, it's not been a restarted F1 race, I think, since, if you ignore races suspended due to weather, I don't think there's been a restart due to a start line crash since about 2000. So it's not something you see these days. That's why we have the safety car out. So it's a shame half the field's depleted, but it is what it is, and we're going to make do and do the best of what we can. Lambo's going to have the best chance here to gain some ground. Spike's in a good place, so said even before the start of the race, before everything happened, that being on those soft tyres, if you can make them last, is a possible good place for him to be. And with Lambo all having at the front now, he's going to have to pit at some point soon. As I've just seen a PSN message from Squeezy saying red flag, so I think we know what everyone else is wanting. Whether it's going to happen is not up to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And safety car stays out for another lap. What's interesting though is Lambo hasn't pitted, because I would assume, like, you know, with the field this tight together, pitting onto a set of soft tyres might not actually be the worst thing for Lambo to do. And the person, it seems, in prime position to take that position away from him is Spike. Obviously, with Lambo leading the pack under the safety car, he's able to keep the tyres in a much more, you know, agreeable temperature range than the tyres probably would have been at this point. So you could probably take those super softs to the soft tyre window. But just an interesting one to see that he hasn't pitted.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice, because obviously, unless he feels that he can pull away enough of a gap, is the only way that would be he'd be staying out. Going on the softs would still push him into a two-stopper. Going on the mediums, is, even though you're behind the safety car, it's still asking an awful lot of the tyre around this track. As I say, there's quite a lot of high-load corners, like the Prouhon, Blanchimont going up the hill through Erosion, Radion. So he's probably thinking, you know what, if I can eke these out a bit, even though it might put me behind, he maybe still feels he's got the pace to come back through the field, put a set of soft tyres on. As I said earlier, the soft is probably the optimal race tyre. It doesn't wear as quick as the super softs, but it heats up quicker than the mediums. So maybe that's his thinking, is let the safety car come in, run for another 3, 4, maybe 5 laps if he feels he can really push it, and then pit in and go on to a set of soft tyres so he's on the optimal race tyre for the rest of the race, and then run it from there. Maybe he feels he's got the speed to come through this field. With only 7 drivers left in the field, he's not got as much passing to do.
Yeah, you lagged out a bit there, Andy, but I got the gist of what you were saying. Safety car still out then, as we head onto the 4th lap. Safety car lights are still on, so it looks like the Virtual Burn Mylander is going to do another lap. Oh no, the lights are just turned off, so the safety car is in this lap. So Lambo effectively becomes the safety car, until that safety car line. Interesting enough, Andy, the safety car line next season in real F1 will be completely gone. It'll be the old way. The start-finish line will be the time you can overtake. For now, though, you will have that safety car line, which is just before the chicane. So people can make a move into the chicane if they want to. Only when Lambo goes, though, and only when they can see those green flags. When does Lambo go for it, though? He can only go when the safety car comes in, and he's gone for it now. So Lambo then will be leading the pack towards the chicane, then the old bus stop chicane. That as we head through the final 2 corners, then you can see there's the safety car line. DRS is enabled now as we make our way towards the start finish line, and it's quickly disabled as it's not the right time to enable it. Then Lambo will lead on the 4th lap, then down towards turn 1. Spike here, this is a perfect chance for him to grab a win, and for Sean, for Maze, for Alan Kay, for Plaster and for Ollie, it's all a great opportunity to grab some vital points for the rest of the season. What's important now is that they keep on the track and away from the wall. As you can see, the Lambo's already extended that gap, and Plaster's out. Oh no, I was just saying about keeping it on the track, and Plaster's out of the race.
Unbelievable. Just I didn't catch it, but it's at Radion, so I think we can all guess what's happened there. Back end swapping itself round in a tank slapper, and away you go. That means we're down to 6 drivers, which is really frustrating, but it's good points for everybody who is able to carry on, because down in 6th place is Ollie, goes up the inside of Alan Kay into Brussels there, so a nice little move from the Red Bull driver. But in terms of points, it's 25, 18, 15, 12, 10. Maximum, the least points you can pick up today is 8. And for some people, that's a lot of points. You get some drivers that are only able to pick up maybe 1 or 2 points at the back of the end of the field. So this is a transfer room, really good points. Ollie now going past Maze into the Franges chicane here on the inside. That Red Bull looking pretty quick on those medium tyres, so he's all the way back up into 4th place already now, having been down towards the back before all the mayhem happened. But Lambo is already checked out up at the lead. He's already 1.5 seconds clear, so this is what we're saying. He's maybe going to try and just eke this out and just go for it, so he can put the soft tyres on later on in the race. Spike is in 2nd. He's on those soft tyres, so that's the optimum thing for him. He just needs to stick as close as possible without wearing them out. Same goes for Sean in 3rd place as well. Just keep those tyres in the perfect operating window without losing touch of the cars ahead. Ollie, though, is closing up quickly. He's already dropped Maze by about 1.5 seconds now as he comes across the line. He's on the medium tyres, so good chance for him with Maze and Alan Kay 5th and 6th. And I get the feeling these two might be having a battle through the rest of the race, but Lambo is doing what he needs to do at the moment, and that is disappear up the road and do it very quickly. And you can see at the top there, all the carbon fibre still strewn across the track at the side of the road. Very expensive pile up that we had.
Yeah, that carbon fibre is still strewn across the road. I wonder why we had the safety car. I was pretty sure that was supposed to be swept up. Was that your job or was that mine? I can't remember now.
I left the sweep and brush today, so that was your job.
Oh, was it my... sorry everybody. If anyone gets a puncture late on in this race, they can absolutely blame me, as the sun's trying to poke through. You can see Alan Kay here on the tail of Maze, medium tyre versus soft tyre. And interestingly then, Andy, Ollie was making those moves at the very start of that stint under Green Flag Racing on fresh medium tyres, of course. Now, he won't have used them at all. They won't have gone through that heat cycle that maybe Maze and Alan Kay had, and he went for it, and now he's 3.3 up the road. So watch out for Ollie in the late stages of this race. That could be an interesting battle between him and Sean as we head further and further into this race then. Didn't quite expect this as a race start, Andy, but we've got it, and Lambo leads the way, and you can see there Spike is actually closing that gap now. 1.3 is the gap. I'm expecting Lambo here to sort of pit in around about lap 7, lap 8, which is what I said the soft tyre runners would be pitting in on, as he didn't pit under the safety car.
Yeah, I think the tyres will be starting to go off, but he's pushing it really hard as well. DRS now finally properly enabled, but he was really pushing it on that lap. He came out of Malmedy just after the Commons chicane, and he was on the grass and across the curbing, and I think he's done that the rest of the lap in a couple of other places. That's allowed Spike to close back in, because that gap was nearly 2 seconds before that, but Spike's now within 1 and a bit, so he's not in DRS range just yet, but he's getting there. He's managed to drop Sean, he's got 3.5 seconds over him, so he can just concentrate on the cars ahead. Ollie is still about 3 and a bit behind Sean, but he is closing up bit by bit, and Maze and Alan Kay are still having their wee scrap, although Alan has dropped back about a second roughly at the moment. So the battle for the win for me is going to be between Lambo, Spike and possibly Ollie, if he can keep the car going in the right direction and make these tyres last. That's going to be the ones I'd say to watch out for most of all for this race win here today. And I think Spike at the moment is in the ideal position. The question is going to be, how long can Lambo go on those super soft tyres before he has to pit? If you can make them last another 2 laps or so without losing too much time, you can probably put the soft tyres on and run them to the end of the race rather than having to go for the mediums. So that's going to be the key part now as to how Lambo goes in this race.
And Steph in the chat saying Spike for the win. He's 1.2 seconds back, so the gap has pretty much stabilised at the moment. It was 1.3 at the beginning of this lap. Spike then set the fastest lap on the race on those set of soft tyres as we make our way through Blanchimont towards the chicane, the old bus stop chicane. And Lambo then still holding on to that lead though, although that gap is coming down and it's less than a second. But unfortunately for Spike, it was not less than a second, just before that DRS detection zone, which is just before the chicane, sort of in the braking zone. Got to keep an eye on that, and we've also got to keep an eye on the battle between Maze and Alan Kay as they make their way through the old bus stop chicane. Got to get that exit right, Andy. The track sort of is a little bit bumpy on the exit of the final corner there, so getting that wheel spin under control will be crucial, especially late on into your stint when those tyres have got no more to give. You can see then going down the hill, Maze has had a much better exit than Alan Kay out of La Source hairpin as we head through Eau Rouge, now up Radion, and we'll see now as the car's planted this time around as Alan Kay will get the DRS now as we head down the Kemmel Straight. As you can see there, Maze taking a defensive line. Will Alan Kay go for it? No, he thought about going up the inside there, but decided to back out of the move. Wasn't happy with trying to make that move work. Maybe didn't quite see the space and adversely just sort of backed out of the move. He knows he's got plenty of the race left. He just has to put Maze under that little bit of pressure. There is the pressure on him though, because he started on the soft tyres. Obviously Maze started on the mediums. There is no incentive for Maze here to just sort of, well, let Alan through. The longer he can keep Alan behind him, the better, and the more it'll work for his strategy.
Definitely so, and certainly one. I think that battle could go on all race long, right the way through the pit stops. Lambo is starting to struggle on those super soft tyres. Spike is now within DRS range as he come flying through Blanchimont and heading up towards the bus stop chicane. I'm expecting Lambo, if he does carry on, it'll be one more lap, but nope, he's heading for pit lane, so no battle there. He ducks out of that one, and Spike takes over the lead off the Belgium Grand Prix with Lambo now in the pits. Sean will go through. He takes second place with Ollie taking over third. Maze and Alan Kay coming through to the bus stop chicane. I'm expecting soft tyres here. No, it's a set of medium tyres. No, it is soft tyres. The game is throwing... No, it's mediums, because the game doesn't want to know what it wants to do. It keeps throwing the yellow, then white, then yellow, then white. I'm sure that's what happens when I fall asleep and I can't see anything, but there you go. So Lambo comes back out of the pits and he's ahead of that battle between Maze and Alan Kay. So that's 2 less passing moves that he has to do, but his gap to the lead is only 16 seconds. So all he needs to do is just manage this, and come the end of the pit stop phase, he will be back in the lead of the race. So maybe he's known something a bit more than what we expected. Alan Kay's came into the pits as well. He's decided he wants to get rid of those soft tyres a bit earlier. So he's now on to a set of mediums. So the only 2 guys believed to have made a stop. In fact, no, so Ollie's been in the pits as well. But he never changed his... Oh no, he did change tyres because he stopped earlier. So Ollie's actually already pitted. Did he start the softs? Yes, he did, yeah.
He did start on the softs, so he could go on to another set of softs later on, because of course he's now used both set of dry weather tyres, or at least 2 sets, as per the rules. And remember, Andy, he pitted under the safety car. He was at the back there, decided to bin his soft tyres for a set of mediums instead. So now he is closing in on Sean. 1.2 is the gap. And you have to feel, Lambo here, this is a huge opportunity to not only close up on his rivals, but to actually get his season back on track. And you have to feel that if Lambo doesn't win this race, this is going to be a huge missed opportunity for him.
Definitely so. I mean, it's been after winning last season, it's been a disastrous season, so to speak, in some sense. I mean, the start of the year, I think he retired from the first 2 or 3 races early doors. So it's not been the greatest championship defence, but we know he's still quick. He's been doing well in some other leagues as well that he takes part in. I've been obviously seeing on Twitter. He's won some races kicking about there, so he's still capable of it. He could really do with a good result to try and make an attempt at closing back up. Obviously with Blizzard out of the race here, obviously you were saying anything can happen, it usually does. Well, it did, and there's obviously the possibility now for people to close the gap, but the ones closest to him, which were Squeezy and Poe, they got caught up in that melee as well, so it's not going to be the biggest effect to his lead come the end of this race. He's going to still be leading the championship by that same points gap of around about 60, 90, 71 points that you mentioned earlier on, so it's not the end of the world for Blizzard. They're coming up to Monza next time as well, which is always an interesting race around the Italian Grand Prix. So, but yeah, the point now is going to be, does Lambo close back up? And when does Spike pit? And also, since Ollie has pitted and changed onto mediums from softs, as he picks up a time penalty as I talk about him, can he run into the end of the race and take advantage of the fact the safety car meant he wasn't using them for a few laps? That's an interesting one to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're riding on board with the Red Bull of Ollie, still trying to close that gap. Remember, he has pitted already. In fact, the only two people who haven't, or three people who haven't pitted, are Spike, Sean and Maze. They've all started on the tyres you see now, so they have to make their stop. Ollie, meanwhile, technically doesn't have to stop again as we make our way towards the old bus stop chicane. He's having a look there as race leader Spike is into the pits. Sean tries to take a defensive line into turn 18 on the exit turn 19. He might struggle here, as Sean here might just be able to take the race lead, and he does as we head towards La Source hairpin. And if Sean at some point in this race thought he was going to lead this race at one point, well, I think he's got a very nice surprise. He's got a lot of pressure from Ollie though as we head down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion, as we'll ride on board with Ollie then. 7th gear all the way, taking that curb beautifully there. As what happened there, Andy? I mean, Ollie here trying to go around the outside with the DRS then as he makes his way towards Les Combes, and he's got the move done well before the braking zone. You winced there, Andy. What happened?
Yeah, I was watching where Spike came back out in comparison to Lambo, and as Spike was coming out of the pits, the car got almost 90 degrees sideways. He managed to hold it. I thought he was going into the wall. I mentioned about pit entry. He nearly lost it on pit exit there, so just got me wincing quickly there, but he managed to collect it together. I was keeping an eye on where he came out and how close he is. He's about 3 seconds back, so he has lost a little bit of time during that pit stop phase, but he's minimised it as much as possible by coming into the pits when he has done. So the only one still to pit is Sean, who's in 2nd place, and Maze, who is in 5th place because he started on the mediums. And then Sean's collection right back up to the back of Ollie there, who was ahead of him for a good bit. So is that Red Bull struggling?
Yeah, I think it just...
Red Bull struggling.
Yeah, I think Ollie made a mistake on the exit of turn 13, got the back end flying out there as we head through towards Blanchimont and turn 17 now. Can he hold on in the dirty air? Riding on board with the Williams. He might have a go here up the inside, but no, he backs out of it and decides not to go for the move and actually gets himself a 5-second stop go. Well, I guess you could say luckily for him, he serves this 5-second stop go now. So the Williams crew will hold him for 5 seconds before they can work on the car. And that's going to put Lambo back up to 2nd place, Spike there in 3rd. Now where will Sean rejoin? I think he might rejoin behind Maze. There you can hear in the background there the Williams crew working on that car. And of course the nature of this pit lane means that the pit lane exit is sort of just after turn 1. Will we see a Williams emerge from the pit lane very shortly as Alan Kay makes his way around the final corner? And yes, Sean does rejoin in 5th place on a fresh set of medium tyres. So that just leaves Maze now as the last person to pit in. I'm sort of expecting lap 13 to be when Maze pits. Of course, we did have the safety car as well, so it could be even later. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see Maze try and take these medium tyres as long as possible. Put on a set of softs for the end and just drive hard and fast. If he puts on a set of super soft tyres towards the end of the race, he'll have shot himself in the foot there, Andy.
Quite possibly. It's one of those ones. Depends where he feels. If he's happy with where he's going to end up finishing, possibly, he might decide to go for the fastest laps. You never know, but we'll keep an eye on when he comes into the pits. Sean comes back out in 5th place. So Ollie's now in the lead off the race by 5.5 seconds from Lambo, who's in 2nd. He's got 2 and a bit seconds to Spike in 3rd. So this is where the fight is going to be for this race. We're now at halfway distance, half the race done, half the race still to go. And Ollie, obviously having made that pit stop under the safety car, he doesn't have to pit for another pit stop, but obviously he's done 9 laps now on those medium tyres, now on his 10th lap, whereas Lambo's only done 4 laps as he crosses the line now, whereas Spike's only on his 2nd. So that could come back into play later on in the race for the Lambo and Spike. They could easily catch back up to Ollie there. They are closing on him slowly as well, but Ollie's got the chance of getting himself a good result here if he can eke those tyres out and avoid a puncture. Since we've also had a wee bit more of a lull between due to the lack of drivers due to the massive melee, I found it a really interesting bit of trivia that you might like to know, Kieran. I'm sure everyone else would like to as well. We all know Ayrton Senna's phenomenal pace, yep, we all know about that. He won Spa 6 times. Do you know that he never set a fastest lap of the race at Spa, yet Bruno Senna set his only fastest lap in his career at Spa? I would never have thought that.
Well, didn't Ayrton Senna once say, "If you think I'm fast, wait till you see my cousin, my nephew"? Did he say that once?
He did, yeah, no, he did. Something along those lines.
I wonder how that worked out for Paul Bruno there. Put under that pressure early on in your career, it was only going to end one way for him, unfortunately. Especially
in terms of F1, but he's doing well in the endurance stuff though. He's doing pretty decent there. He's in the World Endurance Series. He does pretty decent there. I think he's in the LMP2, if I remember rightly. So
I think he is.
He's done
yeah.
well for himself, but not in F1 unfortunately.
No,
too much of a name to be.
It never quite worked out. I mean, he did have that. Did he have a stint with Williams? I'm pretty sure. I remember
Williams,
some sort of stint with Williams, and then sort of went to one of the backmarker teams, which is a real shame. But yeah. HRT, yeah, horsepower replacement therapy, that's right.
Yep.
I remember that team very well, as Lambert then makes his way around the final corner. 4.8 separates himself and Ollie as he crosses the line then, lap 13, as Spike, meanwhile, current holder of the A logo fastest lap of the walk with a 146.025. And I'll be honest with you, Andy, I think a lot of the drivers here might come to some sort of gentleman's agreement, put on a set of super softs, and try and give us a time trial show. You never know, it could happen.
It's always possible. I'm expecting to see someone to maybe go for super softs, and I think Mays might be the one. I think he might try and drag this out, this medium stint. He's going to get a decent haul of points, even if he finishes in 6th now. I can see him maybe trying this super softs on and dragging this medium stint out to about lap 16, 17 or so, just so he can put those red mark tyres on. Obviously, with the less fuel in the car, it won't be as punishing on those tyres for those 5 or 6 laps if he did do so. You never know, we could see that. Alan Kay might decide he fancies a wee chance at that as well towards the end of the race. Sean is trying to close on Mays, but he's still 3.8 behind. Spike's maintaining the gap to Lambo about 2.5. Lambo, they got the gap to Ollie down to 4.2 seconds. It was about 5.7 about 3 laps ago, so he's slowly whittling away at the lead off the Red Bull. So it's going to be interesting when he catches up, as he just catches the grass there, heading out off the right-hander onto the, you could call it a back straight in a sense, but it's not a straight. So as he heads towards Boulogne-Chaumont just now. At about 195 there, he went through the apex of the corner, so obviously down on speed in comparison to qualifying. He's obviously got the battery turned round at this moment as well. And I think at the moment, obviously with 6 drivers, we were to expect a bit of a lull in some sense. But, you know, it was going to be an interesting finish to this race for sure, and it's definitely not over yet. The top 3 separated by about 7 seconds, and the gap to Ollie and Lambo is closing ever so slightly as it carries on.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Mays, I believe. That was Mays just coming to the pits, and it was indeed Mays coming into the pits. What lap did I say, Andy? Did I get that absolutely spot on, or did I get that absolutely spot on?
That is a big, massive ding and a tick.
If there's one thing I'll be able to take away and put on my CV for the rest of my career, it's that I guessed one pit stop window right. That is something I'll take away with me. But he puts on a set of soft tyres, avoids those super softs, and quite rightly as well. Where will he rejoin, I wonder, coming out of the pit lane? There he goes. So he's just rejoined behind Alan Kay there. So he makes his way down towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the 14th time on a set of soft tyres. Expect that leaderboard to flash up purple in the next couple of minutes.
Quite possible it could happen. Sean picking up another 3-second time penalty, so Mays is within 3 and a bit seconds off him. Sorry, that's of Alan Kay, is. So he's okay at the moment, Sean, in that regards, but you know, it's not something you want to be doing too much of. You'd end up costing yourself time at the end. Spike's dropped off the back of Lambo a little bit. It's now up to 3 seconds is that gap, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on there. Hopefully Spike can bring that gap back. Lambo's still around about the 4-second gap, so that's going to be interesting coming the end of this race here, definitely so.
A bit of a mistake there from Spike coming out of Blanchemont. Just ran wide on the curb there on the exit of turn 17. So that's going to cost him a couple of tenths. In fact, it's cost him 3 tenths exactly there as he makes his way towards the start-finish line. Then lap 15 of this Grand Prix. We have 8 laps to go. Ollie is in the lead with Lambo in 2nd, Spike is in 3rd, Sean is in 4th place, Alan Kay 5th, and Mays is in 6th place. We lost Plaster just after the safety car, assuming something happened at Eau Rouge or Radion. And the rest of the field, Poe, Gort, Steph, Blizzard, Squeezy and Francis all wiped out before the Kemmel Straight. That caused the safety car, and that caused the... after that, we saw Plaster spin out. So 6 runners left, Andy. And it's been a bizarre race for sure, but it all comes down to strategy now. How well can you keep these tyres? And also, can you keep it out of the walls as Ollie goes very, very close to the outside wall there on the exit of No Name?
Yeah, it may only be 6 drivers left in the race, but for these drivers that are actually in it, it's still just as... you've got to concentrate just as much still, because you still need to avoid spinning out on the curbs, hitting the wall, getting your braking points right, getting on the power at the right time, looking after tyres. Doesn't matter how many cars are in the race, you still got to be able to do that. So it's still tricky for him to do. Lambo's got the gap down to 3.5 seconds now, so he is gaining, but he does have a 3-second time penalty to add to his time. Spike has dropped back to nearly 4 seconds down. You did say he had mentioned to you about struggling to keep the softs in the operating window. I'm sure these mediums are giving them a really hard time. As I said earlier, they are quite tricky to heat up and keep the temperature in them. But Lambo is gaining. I'm going to have a wee check and see what the other time penalties are, just to see how that might affect later on in the race. But this is still going to go to the end of the race, this one here. But it's we're having to wait for it. Lambo and Ollie are certainly making us wait for the end of this, because it's going to get exciting then. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer just now.
See, Ollie pitting so early under the safety car. Obviously, he may as well, what seems like his one and only stop. Surely he can't go to the end of the race on these tyres. Surely not.
I think he's got to go for it now, to be honest. You know, he might as well. He's probably not going to finish any lower than 3rd, regardless, as long as he doesn't pick up a puncture. If he pits now, he's probably going to finish 3rd. If he stays out now, the worst he can finish is 3rd. He might win, or he might come 2nd. So I think he's probably just got to go for it now, to be honest.
And sort of see if there's some sort of... well, hopefully he won't get a puncture. That's what he's thinking. Andy, I was actually going to ask you, is anyone in line to get the coveted Andy Campbell no penalty prize trophy?
So I'm in the process of looking through it at the moment. So Ollie's got himself at least 3 seconds. Sean, I know, has already got 6. Lambo's got 3 seconds. So Mays, Spike and Alan Kay, no surprises with Alan, he's done that many a time. Spike has a couple of times as well. So we've got half the field that's left are going to get the coveted award at the moment. Lambo and Ollie have got 3-second penalties each. Sean has only got the 1 3-second penalty, it turns out to be, so I thought he had 2. But yeah, so at the moment Lambo and Ollie's penalties are equaling each other out, which means that with Lambo getting the gap down to about 3 seconds. Oh, Alan Kay, you've ruined your record, son. Come on, terrible. But just as I speak, I'm good for cursing people, by the way, so I've been told. If you've watched my Sunday night ones, you'll know you do as well. I've always getting pulled up by my co-commentator there, Ollie, for cursing drivers in that one. So, but at the moment, with 3 seconds between Ollie and Lambo, it's not going to make any difference with their penalties as long as they don't gain any more through the rest of the race. Spike has got 3.5 seconds, nearly 4 seconds. If he can close in enough, he could still sneak it, but he needs to start closing in soon. Alan Kay's ruined his record, which I'm disappointed at. So Maze and Spike are the only two on for that coveted award.
Interesting fact here, as we head 6 laps to go, only one of these drivers has won a race all season. No prizes for guessing who, Andy.
It'll be Lambo, isn't it?
It is correct, Lambo. Lambo won at Austria, that frantic 4-car battle at the end of the race on the final lap.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I caught the end of that.
Remember that one well. But yeah, the rest of the field in the race at the moment haven't won a race this season. So Ollie here will trying to hold on, and maybe he'll be telling his grandchildren about a win if he can get it today. Half the field was wiped out before the Kemmel Straight. I put on a set of medium tyres and got to the end. Well, he's got 5 laps once he crosses the line to make those tyres last. And he'll have taken that tyre, or those tyres, 21 laps by the end of this race. Can they hold on?
I mean, obviously the safety cars help to drag out the wear a little bit or gain him an extra few laps. It's still going to be touch and go, because by the end of the race he's going to have done nearly 20 laps on them. In terms of racing laps, it's maybe about 17 laps roughly in terms of racing. So he could, it's possible, but it is going to be on the edge. As I say, because of the gap, I mean, if you look at the gap between him and Sean, it's 33 seconds. The gap between him and Spike is 6 seconds. So if he pits, he's probably not going to have enough time to gain the ground back up even to overtake Spike for second, and he's going to finish in third. If he pushes it, he might, if the tyres last, he could still win the race, or he might finish in second. As long as he doesn't get a puncture, he's probably not going to finish any lower than third at worst. So I think pushing it is probably the right thing to do at the moment. As long as the tyres are in good wear, he should be able to get to the end of the race, but he will start to feel the effects of being on those tyres for as long as he have. Lambo's got 6 laps fresher tyres than him, and Spike's got 8 laps fresher than Ollie's, so he's got the freshest out of the top 3. But with the time gaps as they are, as long as there's no puncture for the Red Bull, he's still going to be in the podium no matter what, so you might as well go for it. As long as that any tyre don't delaminate, then he should be fine, and he might just pick up an absolutely fantastic victory. You never know.
A victory out of the blue, almost, as he makes his way makes his way out of Stavelot and towards Blanchimont for the 18th time. For the Red Bull driver, he was looking for his first race win of the season with Lambo 2.1 seconds behind. He's looking for his second race win of the season. And Spike, who is currently 4.2 behind Lambo, which puts him around about 6 seconds behind the leader, as you were saying there, Andy. Still an outside chance for Spike to get a win.
They're still there if he can find some speed. He needs to start making inroads towards Lambo about now if he wants to have that possibility. His best chance, if he can start doing that, is Lambo and Ollie start to battle with each other and cost each other time by having a fight. That would allow him to sneak up and maybe get within DRS range. But he needs to start putting the foot down a little bit, and as much as he can. I'm sure he'll be making sure he drives within the limits, of course, around here, because it is still quite cloudy, so the track will probably be a lot cooler than it can be. But if he can make some time up, there's always that possibility. If the front two start battling it out, you can running on board with Lambo now going through Brussels towards No Name, and just coming out of the corners you can just see that Red Bull in the distance, so it's getting ever closer. And we are in, despite everything that's happened here, it's been, as you say, one of those sort of weird kind of races because of what happened. We lost half the field on lap 1. Francis went sideways up Eau Rouge, and up ahead everybody was, well, goodness knows what happened. I've seen the PSN chat saying that we've got a netcode going on. It's caused everybody to crash, and then Plaster dropped out after the restart. So only 6 running, they're still going about, but despite it, Lambo's within 1.6 seconds now. And we're possibly still in for a grandstand finish here at Spa, and over the years it has still done that despite being the longest track. Some of the recent finishes have been about 3, 4, 5 seconds of a gap. You might remember Hamilton and Raikkonen hitting each other in 2007, and Hamilton won the race and then got chucked down, I think it was third, by the stewards afterwards. So it's still a possibility, and it's 3 laps to go now, and the gap's down to 1.5 seconds. and Mays is 1.5 seconds behind Alan Kay. I said they might still be fighting come the end of the race, and it looks like that is definitely going to be the case. But all eyes at the front of the field. Red Bull versus the sister Toro Rosso, heading up through Eau Rouge and Radion for the 20th time. We're in for a good finish here between these two.
3 laps to go then. Ollie making his way down to Lake Holm. He's only got to make those tyres last for 3 more laps. Watching this battle and also watching the battle between Alan Kay and Mays, as Alan Kay makes his way through Blanchemont towards the old bus stop chicane. 1.2 is the gap between himself and Mays. Mays here on those soft tyres hasn't had the pace I was expecting. Maybe he's just sort of cruising here, waiting as late as possible to attack Alan Kay. But I tell you what, Lambo here, the gap's now down to 1.3 as they head through Puan, and you can see there Ollie having to change down to 5th to make Puan there. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1, that's Alan Kay. Alan Kay, well, the car's still got 4 wheels attached, so that's good news. But has he lost a bit of front wing? I think he's perfectly fine for damage. I think he just lost the back end there on the exit of La Source hairpin. Yeah, so he's able to, yeah, he's still got his front wing intact, so he's able to carry on, and luckily keeping it out of the walls, all 4 tyres attached. And well, the worst case scenario is that he finishes 6th, Andy, so not the end of the world, and he'll probably be having a little bit of a chuckle to himself there about how he won't get 5th place. Here comes Ollie then, around the final corner. You can see there, Lambo, is he in DRS range? He is. 2 laps to go, and Lambo's just set the fastest lap of the race. He's come alive here with 2 laps to go, 1:45.8. As we head out of La Source hairpin, you can see here how close Lambo is. He's got to be careful of that dirty air as we head towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the 21st time. And can Ollie hold on? Can his tyres hold on as well? We've seen drivers in the past try and make their tyres last well beyond their sell-by date. And sometimes it can end badly, sometimes you're over the moon. But you can see there Lambo eyeing up the opportunity. He had the DRS there. Gap is now 0.6 of a second. This battle for the lead here is going to go right to the wire as we head down towards Brussels now. Got to get the braking zone absolutely right, and they both do. And keeping the car straight on the track as we head towards No Name. Both of them using that curve on the right hand side of your picture. And again, as we head down towards Puan. And you can see here, how about Lambo? He drops, if I can get my word out there, he drops down to 6th gear. But you'll see there, Ollie dropping down to 5th to try and make Puan there. So his tyres have really seen better days at this point. And as we head through towards the final couple of corners, and Lambo is going to put that Red Bull under an immense amount of pressure. And you'll see Ollie there, keeping that understeer under control though. Unlike me in previous races, I'd go straight on into the tyre wall there. But Lambo here is right in the slipstream. Ollie is going to feel that pressure as we head towards the old bus stop chicane. And is Lambo going to try and move? No, he's going to wait till the final lap. Look at this. It's a 1-lap shootout now. 6 laps is the gap and the age difference between their sets of tyres. Ollie will start the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix in the lead. And where will he be after 7 kilometres of racing as we head down the hill now towards Eau Rouge and then Radion? Heading down the hill, no DRS here for Lambo, only on the Kemmel Straight. Will you get the DRS? And that's Ollie running a little bit wide there. And it's going to give Lambo the perfect opportunity. He's absolutely timed this perfectly. Lambo heads to the left-hand side of the track with the DRS. And is that all gone for Ollie? Lambo takes the lead of the race then before Lake Holm. Perfect setup with the DRS, as you were saying there, Andy. And it looks like here Ollie's not going to battle that too much. He's in the mode 1 on the ERS battery here. And Lambo, if he times this right, could go on to take his 2nd race win of the season.
That was set up all the way from the end of the last lap through Puhan. When he got within like half a second, when he was right behind Ollie, he done the right thing there. He didn't try and chuck it up the inside into the bus stop. He didn't try and throw it up the inside into La Source. He knew the best opportunity was to go on DRS up the hill along the Kemmel Straight and get the easy pass without having to take a chance. He knew the tyres for Ollie would be going off, and he played an absolute tactical blinder with that. Absolute perfect thing to do there, and he's going to take that 2nd victory of the season. But I'm still giving my driver of the day award personally to Ollie. He's made those tyres last 20 laps laps, helped by the safety car. He's gone through all the trouble, and he's going to pick himself up a brilliant second place. But coming up to the bus stop chicane for the last time.
And Lambo makes his way around the final corner towards the start-finish line. He's going to pick up what will be his second win of the season. Lambo wins with the fastest lap of the race as well. And what a victory for him. It shortens that gap at the top there to, I believe, 95 points if my maths is correct, which it probably isn't. It's actually 85. Spike there picking up a podium there, third place on a day that might have been for him. And how about Sean then? Fourth place, and that if you told him this time around that he would start P10 and he might end up in P4 here, he would have called you mad. And Alan sideways. Well, again, another chuckle from Alan, I reckon. Sean here is going to come around the final corner and he's going to pick up 12 valuable points. You can see him weave there. 12 points for the Williams, a great result for him. And Mays here in 5th place, made those medium tyres last at least, but didn't quite have the pace I expected him to have on those soft tyres. Nevertheless, he's going to come home and take a 5th place finish there, coming out of the final corner. And Mays here taking that 5th place, slowing right down then as he gets across the line. And Alan Kay, meanwhile, in 6th place, picks himself up another time penalty. He's let the pressure get to him, Andy. He heard that the trophy of yours was gone and has decided to just go for it. But he will be able to take the final finishing position on the lead lap. But your winner of the crazy Belgian Grand Prix, his second race win of the season, Lambo takes the win.
Yeah, good race there from Lambo. Obviously managed to avoid the carnage at the start. It'll be interesting. I'd love to see some of the point of views from the drivers involved in that, especially Lambo's. How he got through that, goodness knows. But Ollie there up in second. You know, when he made that stop, and I say that, you know, if he pits now, he's going to be finishing in third, no better than that anyway. And if he makes it last to the end, he might win or he might end up in second. He was 7 kilometres or less than 7 kilometres from taking an unexpected victory. But Lambo, as I say, timed that perfect, waited for the DRS zone up the Kemmel Straight to make it an easy move rather than having to chuck it up the inside into last source in the bus stop. So well played from him. Spike takes up third place, decent result for him as well, but couldn't keep the tyres. So there we go. Lambo wins, Ollie in second, Spike in third, Sean fourth. Mays in 5th picks up my coveted no penalty award, and he's the only driver to do so because Spike's picked up a 3-second penalty somewhere during that race that I missed. And Alan Kay 6th place. That bit where I seen him sideways in the last lap, I think he just lost it coming through Pujon. Caught it just at the end when he was sideways. But he'll take 6th place. He'll be happy to take home that points, although I don't think he'll be too fussed at that. DNFs for Plaster crashed out after the safety car, and then Poe, the Gort, Steph, Blizzard and Squeezy and Francis all caught up in the absolute mayhem that happened on lap 1. And the only bit we know for certain is what I seen on the screen, which was Francis going side by side with Sean up through Eau Rouge, losing it up the hill and coming right across the track, Sean avoiding it somehow. But everything else happened ahead and we lost half the field.
Absolutely, but one thing's for sure, the A logo fastest lap of the race award will be going to Lambo, a 1:45.655 for him that was set on the final lap of the race. Well, we have some time to recover, Andy, that is what we can say, for Commentator's Corner. A bizarre race, probably one of the most bizarre I've ever commentated on. Nevertheless, we still got a battle for the lead, and we still got battles throughout, as well as Alan bottling it twice in 2 laps. I wouldn't say that was great to see, however, it happened. And here we are, 6 finishes, ready for Commentator's Corner, Andy. I'm going to guess then the questions we ask are going to be pretty varied. Normally we have set questions. Oh, how was your race? How did that go? What did you think about that? I think we're going to switch our questions up a bit, aren't we?
Oh, I think so. I mean, certainly, you know, it looks like, you know, we always get Steph in. Spike's usually about as well. It'll be interesting to hear their point of view of what happened on lap 1. Spike obviously got through it. Steph got caught up in it. We might even be able to get Ollie in. You never know as well. It'll be interesting to see how he got on. So it's definitely been a crazy race. It's been an interesting one. We've somehow, although considering it's me and you, mate, no surprise that we've been able to find something to talk about through it all. We're pretty good at doing that. That's why we do this rather than drive. But Lambo picking up his second victory, and who knows, maybe that's a springboard he needs to try and finish the season off as strong as possible. And a couple of other results like that where Blizzard doesn't score any points and it's all up for grabs just because of the 6 wins can all change very, very quickly. But he's still in a commanding leading position as the Force India driver as we head in to next week's lot of races, Tuesday at Monza, and then on Thursday night next week will be Rush at Singapore, I think.
Yes, I think it will. Yeah, round 15. Yes, Singapore.
I'm glad to know I can still remember the calendar.
Well, Commentator's Corner is coming up in just a bit. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified every time we go live. Multiple series running. And if you want to drive next season in any of the events that TTTV is showing, then you need to listen out for the end of Commentator's Corner. That's the end of this stream. Commentator's Corner is coming out very, very shortly. Don't go away.